Please welcome Marc Pritchard.
Thank you. That was Gillette's new film, We Believe. It sparked a worldwide conversation about the best men can be. It already has 100 million views and 12 billion media impressions, because it's tapped into a hot topic, what it is to be a good man today, and how men can step up to reject toxic behavior and be a role model for positive action now and for future generations. It's also sparked many questions, like this one that I get a lot. Why are brands involved in social or cultural issues? Why don't they just stick to selling products? Well, today's reality is people expect more from brands than just selling products. They want to know what brands believe in, their values and their views. They want to know the people behind them and the actions that they're taking on important issues. Half of people say they make purchase decisions based on shared beliefs with a brand. And people of all ages, from Gen Z to boomers, expect brands to take a stand. And let's face it, whether deliberate or not, brands have always had an impact on social norms and popular culture. The images and portrayals of people in advertising affect perceptions because they embed memories into our minds that form bias. Go on to Google, type in objectification of women in advertising. Look at those images and ask yourself, have those images had an effect on how women have been viewed throughout the years? Absolutely. And that's why Madonna Badger's Women Not Objects film challenged the advertising industry to eliminate objectification of women in advertising. And more recently, the ANA #SeeHer movement studied 40,000 ads and found that 29% of ads are still inaccurately or negatively portraying women through some form of stereotyping, objectification, or diminished character. That's unacceptable. And all of us as advertisers own this, which is why more than 75 companies and 1,000 brands have joined the SeeHer movement to eliminate bias by accurately and realistically portraying women and girls in advertising. So why did Gillette, a brand associated with masculinity for more than 100 years, enter the social and cultural fray? Because the role of men matters. Men play an equally important role as women in eliminating bias and promoting equality and demonstrating positive social and cultural behavior. Now, this is hardly the first time that P&G has used our brand's voices in advertising for good. Ariel in India and France show men sharing the load by doing household chores like laundry. Dawn features men doing the dishes, as many men do every day. Pampers highlights dads lovingly sharing diaper duty. Gillette has shaped perceptions of masculinity for generations, including the iconic selling line, "The best a man can get." So it was high time to start a dialogue about a more modern, positive view of what it means to be a good man in today's world. That's why we created We Believe, to promote positive action by inspiring conversations about the best men can be. We constantly talk with men who said that being a good man means not only rejecting bad behavior, but also being a good role model for others. And this film is causing people to pause, reflect, and consider what they can do to set an even better example, especially for the next generation. It's being used in school classrooms and universities to educate and encourage discussion on masculinity and culture. And academics, psychologists, nonprofits, and community organizers have lauded its messages and expressed its support. At the same time, not everyone agrees with the messages, and there have been some very vocal detractors. Some say it attacks masculinity, while others say it sounds like a lecture. Now, we respect different viewpoints, and we're paying attention to all of them. But it's very important to discern between actual consumer sentiment and some of the overheated social media rhetoric that disproportionately amplifies controversy. In fact, independent research from multiple sources point to a far more positive response than what's been reported in the media. Most people, men and women alike, support the messages particularly among Gen Z and millennials. The majority of the people who've seen this film feel that Gillette shares their values and say they feel better about the brand and are actually more likely to purchase its products. So if nothing else, we hope people take time to view the entire film. And even if they don't agree with it, they have a constructive conversation about it with their families, their friends, their colleagues, and most important, with themselves. Which leads to a key question. What does it mean to be a good man today? And how has that changed? Now, the answer to this is obviously very personal, and each individual is going to have a different point of view. For me, what it means to be a good man today is what it's meant all my life. Being honest, unselfish, kind, generous, loving, a good father, a good husband, a good son, brother, friend, leader, colleague, and teammate. And someone who is strong and who takes action to do the right thing with courage and conviction, even in the face of strong opposition. Thank you. And while I don't think the definition has changed that much, what has changed is the expectations for living up to being a good man. That means no longer accepting the hurtful and destructive behaviors that have been swept under the rug for too long. The bad behavior of some men have finally been exposed and called out to be unacceptable. Harassment, bullying, objectification, stereotyping, and diminishing, and must be stopped. And we're advocating to take it further by role modeling positive action, not just standing by. Inaction isn't good enough, but stepping in to stop those behaviors when we see them and demonstrating humanity and how we interact with one another every day. I'm lucky to know many men who are good role models. Every Saturday morning, I play basketball with a diverse group of men ages 16 to 63. Regular guys of multiple races, different walks of life, with families and a variety of careers. We play with intensity. We crack jokes. We make fun of each other. But we also check each other's behavior. We expect integrity. We call out fouls. We pull each other aside when a talking to is needed. And we help each other on and off the court. The expectations are clear. And we respectfully expel the men who don't honor the standards we set. I look forward to that 2 hours every week where good men come together as a respite from a rough world. Another key question. Are there stereotypes of masculinity that we need to reconsider? And if so, how? Take one of the most dominant stereotypes, the strong, silent type. Now, I'll admit I personally identify with it. But I think it's important that it's not the only acceptable image of a man. On the positive side, we're told as we're growing up, we need to be firm, tough, courageous. Those are good traits. But on the negative side, we're also told, suck it up. Don't be a wimp. Man up, and don't cry. These kinds of comments can reinforce that men are emotionless machines, built only for working hard, playing harder, being in charge all the time, never admitting mistakes, never showing vulnerability, and possibly the worst offense, never stopping to ask for directions when lost. Now, don't get me wrong. The strong, silent type is absolutely appropriate in some situations. But when it is the only narrow definition and expectation of masculinity, it could lead to men feeling they must conform to an unrealistic standard of manly perfection. And like any unrealistic expectation, this can lead to unhealthy pressure and stress, physical and mental problems, unproductive power struggles, and even hurtful and destructive behavior. We can move forward by doing what we're doing right now, talking about masculinity. We can acknowledge the current stereotypes. We can talk about what's good about them, but also what's problematic. We can also talk about a broader definition that allows a range of characteristics and feelings and makes it acceptable to demonstrate that variety depending on the situation. The strong, silent type is definitely needed at times, and so is the kind and gentle type, the fun and goofy type, the competitive and intense type, and even the caring, vulnerable, and sensitive type. We need to celebrate men who role model a variety of behavior and do so with a full range of human characteristics. And the last question, with the heat Gillette's getting, is it worth it? Do we stand down and avoid controversy? Or do we keep going to speak truth and inspire conversations and action? The heat we faced and are continuing to face is a moment of truth, and we're choosing to keep going. Because the voice Because the voice of brands like Gillette matter. Brands are arguably the most pervasive forces in the world for business growth, and they can also be used as a force for good. Not everyone will agree with the brand's point of view, and it may be subject to criticism. But if intentions are good, brands have a responsibility to step up, take the heat, and keep going. And those good intentions will eventually prevail. And we will keep going. Because although this is a hard conversation, it's one that needs to be had. It's high time for a more modern, positive view of what it means to be the best a man can be. I strongly disagree with those who say the ad is an attack on masculinity. Watch the film closely. On the contrary, it simply rejects bad behavior and shows men taking positive action. That's the kind of masculinity the world needs. And we believe that men can and do step up to be good role models every day. And that's really important because the next generation of men and women are watching. Thank you.